When a group of friends try to cheer up their newly divorced mate, they decide to go on a lad's road trip. But instead of healing, they end up in a living hell, being hunted for sport by the undead. And to make it out alive, they will have to do some things that will well and truly land them in the... This is a movie I am certain 90% of you have never even heard of. This is yet another movie that I look back on very fondly from my childhood. And after rewatching it at the ripe age of 25, it is still a banger. But one thing is for certain, we will never see a movie like this ever again. Because if it came out today, it would be banned and cancelled in a second. And you will soon see why. Let us jump in, shall we? If you end up enjoying this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe and let me know down below. I hate saying that, but needs to be done. Let's continue. The movie starts by showing us the poor heartbroken boy, Vince, waking up to a sight that most men who have had their heart broken would recognise. We then get a cute little montage introducing us to the rest of the gang. We have Neil, who gets caught leaving after a one night stand, and she is...
I'm not a bloody prostitute!
Not happy in the slightest. We then have Mikey and Patrick, who are both getting shouted at by their wives because they had the audacity to try and cheer up their divorced friend.
It's not bad enough.
Welcome to Sonic Stress Therapy. It's going...
Patrick is quite based for this, I have to admit. But the fact that he is still alive after that stunt is quite unrealistic, I have to say. We then meet the gay friend of the group, Graham, who is also getting shouted at by his boyfriend or husband because he is upset that he was not invited.
No girls allowed, Tommy.
Graham might just be my favourite character in this movie. He's so funny. We then meet Matt, who is also having an argument, but not with a woman. He's arguing with a child about a comic book. And we then meet the last of the gang, Banksy, who looks like he is about to make ways to meet up with the group, but realises that he locked his keys and his phone in his house. I have never felt more seen by a movie. Now that does it for the introductions, so let's start with the shenanigans, shall we? The boys show up and they kidnap Vince and they head to a pub for some pre-drinks while they wait for their bus. Now, for a little bit of context, I'm sure most of you now are wondering, where are they going? Well, as the boys are down in their pints, they are waiting for their bus to arrive to bring them to a little town called Moodley. The reason they're going there is because Mikey's nan lives there and she is out of town for a few weeks. So they are going there to stay and paint the town red. That's the idea anyway. Unfortunately, it gets painted red for a variety of different reasons, but we'll get to that. He also says that the women of this town outnumber the men 10 to 1, which to the boys is a no-brainer of a trip. But unfortunately, as we and the gang will soon learn, the penetration that the boys have in mind is not the one that they are going to be getting. Now, I'm going to speed through this little bit because in my script here, I kind of went on for a bit too long about this. Now, this woman here is called Ruth, and she is the driver for the gang. Neil instantly starts trying to hit her with a bit of charm, which she snaps back with a lot of sass. And that's basically it for the introductions. The only other thing is Neil starts to call her Candy. For whatever reason. Maybe because she is candy to the eyes. God damn. So the boys embark on their journey to good old Moodley, and just as they reach the point of no return, they are blocked by a dead sheep on the road. Unfortunately, that is a quite common sight in Ireland. Either that or a herd of sheep that piss you off to the point that you want to run them over. The gang get out and decide to move the sheep so they can carry on their journey, and as they are doing so, Vince gets a call from his ex to basically make sure that he signs the divorce papers. And not long after, Mikey gets a phone call from his girlfriend who says that she is going to break his PlayStation. I don't know which one is worse, I'm not gonna lie. Neil, probably because he was upset that the phone call wasn't for him, decides he has had enough of this antisocial behaviour and tells everybody to put their phones in the bag. Now, this decision is going to cause them a lot of issues later on. The gang gets to Moodley and it is desolate. Not a single soul can be seen. Neil asks Ruth to stay for a little bit while they do some reconnaissance because they might not be staying. She agrees to wait for 30 minutes and the boys scurry through the town. Mikey goes to check on his nan's house to make sure that it's still there. The rest of the gang, other than Matt, decide to go into a pub and get some pre-drinks in. Or drinks at this point. And the pub's name is, wait till you get this, the Cock and Bull. Fucking spectacular. Matt gets told to go and ask Ruth if she wants to come and have a pint with them, but just like a toddler who just hears Coco Melon's theme song on the TV, his attention is swiftly changed to an antique store. And in the window of this antique store, he sees, and I kid you fucking not, someone's foreskin. nasty business, gentlemen. Inside the pub, the boys are still waiting to be served, but heartbreaking news for them, they ain't gonna be drinking anytime soon, because the staff have clocked out early behind the bar. Cutting over to Mikey, who is now looking for the key to his nan's humble abode, my man picks up one singular gnome, and when he sees the key is not there, he looks like he is about to have a heart attack. He was so worried, in fact, that he completely missed the severed hand stuck to the swing. Now this pissed me off, because this shows that these infected really have no respect. Are you really telling me that you butchered somebody who was just trying to have some happy swing time? You animals! Back outside the pub, as Matt is leaning closer to try and get a better look at the foreskin in the window. As he gets closer, this happens.
Alright, calm down. Look at that. It's a knob in a box.
I'm not gonna lie to you, that moment does not matter, but I was pissing myself for like 10 minutes after seeing this, so I hope you got a kick out of it too. Now, strap in folks, because this is where shit truly goes off the rails. Mikey finally finds the key after a long search, and as he is basking in his mighty achievement, it is soon ruined when he notices a bloody handprint on the fence. He goes to investigate, and this is when we see our first infected. A woman in a wedding dress, sitting on the ground munching like a toddler who was just given a cheese string while watching Cocomelon. This is making me think that we need to change the phrase happy wife, happy life to something more like happy wife, keep your life. Mikey runs away because he was raised to not hit a woman. Back at the pub, the boys seem to have gotten fed up waiting for their drinks and decide to meet with the others outside. While outside, they see what looks like a disheveled old lady walking down the road when an army man comes out of nowhere and decides to show her what a real man feels like. The lads, believing that they are witnessing an assault on the elderly, jump in and start fighting with the Marine. Thinking of it now, it kind of would have been funny if they just jumped in and started beating on this woman with the army man, not even knowing that she's an infected. During the scuffle, Neil gets hit in the family jewels and decides to take a little breather. But it seems like the granny does not play by the rules, because she makes her way up to Neil and stabs him through the hand, all while he is still suffering from the bruising to his future bloodline. Everyone is obviously a bit confused as to what the fuck is going on, but before they could even process it, Mikey shows up and sends the granny back to the lobby with a garden gnome. They pull her hood down to reveal that she is in serious need of some L'Oreal. And unlike in other movies, where they don't even understand the concept of a zombie for some reason, in this one they actually have some brain cells and know what a zombie is. And like it would for pretty much anyone else, it kind of puts a dampener on the vibe. So the boys make their way back to the bus to head home, but that's where we come into a sad reality. Somehow, in less than 30 minutes that they have been here, Candy, or Root, I'll call her for out of respect, has now become infected. Boys, let's just take a moment of silence for the fallen baddie. Now, given the fact that the boys' only way out of here is now looking at them like they are a meatball marinara sub, they are stuck here. So they decide to make their way towards Mikey's nan's house. But as they are making their way through the town, we get cameos from all the other infected, who all come out of their shops and pretty much stop the boys in their tracks, causing them to have to take a shortcut. Now, during this shortcut, they come across a massacre. And this ain't just any massacre, folks. This is a massacre of army men. And as they are taking time to behold this crime scene, the door swings closed and reveals an army man who has been pinned to the fence with his guts on full display. They notice that he has a gun, and that's where I beg the question. Why is there only army men bodies here? Where the fuck are the infected bodies? This might be a bit of a spoiler, but later on in the movie, the army man that the boys have acquainted with shoots an infected person in the head, killing them instantly. So, is this like the fucking boot camp for Stormtroopers Academy or some shit? But anywho, I digress. The boys argue over who has to go and grab the gun because it is covered in guts and blood. Wouldn't be me. But Neil gets nominated for the task, and as he is reaching for the pistol, my man wakes up as if he was taking a fucking nap. He goes on to tell the gang basically a whole load of nothing. All he says is don't go into the woods before he gets his head chopped in two by a axe-wielding bride. Still don't know what he's on about because we never see the woods, so we can either take that as nothing is in the woods and he was a silly cunt, or our characters are smart and actually listened to his advice. The boys make a run for the house and eventually make it to the door. But it is here that they have arguably their most difficult obstacle to overcome. Trying to find keys in cargo pants.
He's a multi-combat soldier! They got
But after a stupid amount of close calls, they make it into the house. Now, I'm sure you have a few questions. Why are only women infected? Why are there so many Marines in this small town? Why does the scissor-wielding zombie still look so fine? All valid questions. Especially the third one, cause damn! Now for the question of why are only women infected, I am gonna wait until we get to the point in the movie that it is revealed. So for the rest of the video, I want you guys to try and guess what the cause of the infection is, because it is a wild one. It is definitely a doozy. But the question of why is there so many Marines in this town gets answered right now. The Marine that the boys saved wakes up, and after a little bit of a confrontation, the boys start asking him some questions. He at first says that it is confidential, but Neil says,
"Hardly classified mates running about out there in stilettos."
And since the Marine can't argue with that solid logic, he tells the boys that him and his squad were sent in as basically the cleanup crew for a government experiment that went sideways. He in fact confirms that it is only women that can get infected, and the infection makes them hateful and rageful towards men. So it is basically a modern day feminism disease. I'm gonna get in trouble for that one. Now I'm gonna speed through this middle bit as much as I possibly can because there is a lot. The boys hatch a plan to take back the van, that rhymed, by getting Neil to distract Ruth, lead her away from the van, and they will pick him up as they are leaving. We also get this banger line.
"My name's Ruth."
Whatever.
Yeah, we'll stop calling her Candy.
Neil, now is not the time to stop objectifying women.
The plan works and the boys get onto the bus, but are soon ran off by more ladies who were also on the bus. Don't know how, they were just there. They run back to the town not knowing that Patrick was left behind and is now being attacked by the bride. He climbs onto a billboard, but as he is climbing up, she hits him in the leg with the axe, and he is now stuck up there while the bride starts chopping at the post. Back with the others, we see that they are completely surrounded. They fight them off as best they can, and Patrick lends an assist with some golf balls. Ooh, ow, 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 ow. Nasty business, nasty. The boys then accidentally split into two groups in a panic. Vince and Matt hunker down in a toy shop, and the Marine, Graham and Mikey hide out in a clothes shop just across the road. They hatch a plan to use an RC car and a head that was in their shop to distract the infected so that Mikey can try and find a car for them. And that goes...
Fucking thing.
Well, he tried at least. The alarm quickly alerts the infected and he runs into the butcher shop. But very soon after, he gets flung out the window by a very brolic butcher woman. The toy shop boys use a water gun, nitro fluid, and a lighter to create a flamethrower to fight them off and try to find Mikey. But unknown to them, the fluid leaks as they are running out of the shop, leaving a trail of fluid behind them. After using the gun one time, it catches fire and Matt throws it on the ground in a panic. That starts a fire that leads into the toy shop and blows it up. Now, I don't know the logistics of how a toy shop is explosive, but it is what it is. Mikey comes running back to the clothes store in the background as Vince and Matt come to and run for their lives. And they end up at a church. Now that's the end of the quick fire part, and I really hope that made sense. I tried my best. Now there's one thing I left out until now. What happened to Neil? Because last we seen of him, he was going on a nice brisk jog with Ruth. And the reason I left it until now is because these scenes have been living in my head for over a decade now. We see Neil still running as he is coming to a stop to catch his breath, and in the background we see a woman wearing a full jockey getup walking towards Neil, and she starts whipping him. And you know what? Compared to the other weapons, you know, like scissors and fucking Excalibur that the other women have, this is nothing. I can say with full confidence that some of you fucks would pay for this type of treatment, and this man is getting it for free. He fights the jockey off, and like a true Brit, his spidey senses tingle and he locks on to a lone football in the middle of the road, with a granny using a walker behind it. So he does the only logical thing to do given the circumstances. He absolutely boots the ball, hitting the granny square in the jaw and knocking her out. He then invades her home, and while looking out the window, he gets knocked out by an unseen character. She's not going to be unseen for long. Trust me, you are not going to be able to unsee this thing when you see it. My god. When he wakes up, he is tied to a chair, sitting across from a very big boned lady with a cake that has fingers on the top like they are candles. If you are squeamish, now's the time to look away. For the entirety of the time that she is on screen during these scenes, she is slowly and seductively sucking the cake off of each of the fingers, while simultaneously giving Neil the fuck me eyes. He tries to unleash his fuckboy skills and riz her up, all while trying not to throw up, just like I am now. And his riz seems to be working until it doesn't, because she uses an electric knife to cut my man's pinky off, adding one more candle to the cake. Now, a little bit of time passes, because in the actual movie, this is like 2 separate moments with all of the antics that I sped run through in the middle. So when we finally cut back to see how our boy is doing, he has had enough of this woman's shit. He decides to use rage baiting tactics. He starts calling her every name under the sun so she gets closer to him, and just when it looks like she's about to take another one of my man's fingers off, the blade slips and cuts the bindings of his chair. He wastes no time to get the fuck out of there. He runs up to the 2nd floor, hops out a window and starts scurrying across the roof, and it is here that he sees the rest of the gang. And I've now come to the realization that I have not explained why the close shot boys are in dresses. They came up with a genius plan, I must say, kind of like The Walking Dead before The Walking Dead, but instead of covering themselves with zombie guts to mask themselves from the infected, they dress up like women and wear perfume so they don't smell like men. It's so fucking stupid. But back to Neil's situation, because it's not finished yet. As it looks like he is about to be home free, he crashes through the roof of the building next to it. Albeit a quite fucking terrifying scenario, but 10 times better than what he just experienced. He falls onto a bed surrounded by what looks like 3 infected prostitutes, who then clamber on top of our boy, and just as it looks like it is about to be the end, the 3 women then start fighting with each other over who gets a piece of him first. Neil sits there staring for a few minutes because he is erect and confused, but soon makes the rational decision to run out of the house, marking the first time this man in this entire movie has not taught with his dick. Character progression, gentlemen. We're here. Now, inside the church, we get some revelations. It seems that whatever government fucking experiment went on in this town, they used the church as the headquarters to do their experiments and also have their surveillance of the entire town. Now we have the almighty reveal that you have all been waiting for. The boys boot up the mothership, it looks like, and are instantly put into a video call with somebody that we see throughout the entire movie plastered all over this town. But this right here is Meg Nut. Yes, Nut. Nice. And she seems to be the criminal mastermind behind all of this, which is quite ironic given the fact that she's a woman. So you would think she'd have a bit more sympathy. Now, this video call is a bit of an anomaly. I have no idea why or how this woman ended up in this scenario. For some fucking reason, this woman is locked in a room handcuffed to a briefcase. And that's all the information we get. But as soon as she realizes that they have no part in this, she immediately self-destructs the PC.
Get her back.
It's on fire.
And it is here that the army man discovers the perfectly placed MacGuffin of the movie. Kinda. Just kinda. Because it seems the army man was not fully truthful with us up until now. Because he starts to explain that this button incapacitates the women only when they enter phase 2. And everything that they have experienced up until now was only phase 1. They then start screaming and demanding answers as to why and how only women are infected. And Matt opens up a box to reveal that the miscellaneous infection device was washing powder. Biological washing powder at that. Because men don't use washing powder. So stupid. Oh, but it's brilliant. It's so good. Now, for as to why Matt doesn't get infected by this washing powder is beyond me. They never fucking talk about it. But unfortunately, it is beginning to look like the boys are not going to survive long enough to find out. Because right on cue, all of the women start to mutate into phase 2. And phase 2 consists of making them bigger, stronger, more masculine-like, and more aggressive, and also smart. So, GG's, I guess. But very luckily for them, they ended up finding the perfect device to deal with them.
Can you hear it?
never mind, it doesn't work. GG's guys, GG's. While the army man is busy trying to figure out why his mystical button isn't doing its job, he lets out a scream and folds in two, revealing that my man was cut in half from the spine by a senile old lady who just finished with confession. Now this is no ordinary old lady, gentlemen. This is the grandmother of Mikey. The boys get ready to fight off Gran, but Mikey steps in to tell them no, that's his nan, do not hurt her. It seems like we're gonna get a nice emotional moment where he tries to reason with his grand... Oh, what? I guess not. Matt is a little traumatized after performing a triple bogey on Gran's cranium, so he goes into the back to take a breather. But no less than a minute later, Vince follows after him to check if he's okay, only to see him getting choked by Dommy Mommy. He tells Vince to run before getting impaled by Excalibur. He goes and tells the rest of the gang what has happened, and they go in to investigate and instantly lose their fucking mind and actually start to fight back for once. They pin Miss Ripley down to the table and stab her with her own sword, and for some reason they leave the sword stuck in her fucking torso. Like, gentlemen, survival skills, please. And not only that, they decide to walk down into the basement of the church, which I was unaware was a thing. They go down there and they find out that it is the nest of the women. The woman nest, and immediately upon realizing this, they decide to run back the way they came. When they get back to the room that they were initially in, they see that they are blocked on both sides. So they run upstairs to a conveniently placed bedroom that I didn't even know churches had, and barricade the door. They then make their way out the window to the roof to see if there is any way of them getting down, and it is here that it is revealed that Banksy has finally made it to the function, none the wiser as to what has fucking happened. I'm sure you forgot about him by now, because I fucking did. The boys ask him to grab a ladder and bring it back to them, and then ask what took him so long to get here, to which he responds,
"You would not believe the shit they I've had."
Read the room, bro. He comes back with the ladder and, like an absolute plonker, uses the ladder himself to get up onto the roof. This man must have been dropped at birth, because it seems he did not get the memo. They freak out at him and tell him to get down the fucking ladder so they can get down, and before he could get down, the girls have arrived, and they want to have fun, because they tip the ladder over, causing Banksy to fall over onto the opposite building, and now they have to use the ladder as a makeshift bridge. They all make their way across except for Graham, who is the last one, and Neil sees his best friend coming to have some fun. She notices him too and instantly goes into a rage. She then runs into the church, and I shit you fucking not, I don't know where this woman gets her stamina from, but like she no joke goes from the bottom floor on the street to upstairs where Graham is in 30 seconds, maybe less. And as soon as Graham felt the shockwave of that woman hitting against that door, he instantly knew it was time to get out of there. Starts crawling across the ladder, and it genuinely looks like he's going to make it until... yeah, that happens. Oh, it's not over yet. Belly flop! After they get away, the boys ask Banksy where he parked his car. And when they get to the car, this is what it looks like. Not ideal. He even has the audacity to say this.
Could be worse. How many fingers am I holding up? They're fucking eating us! How can it get any worse?
Patrick joins in on the screaming, basically saying that this is not his idea of a fucking golfing holiday, and he ends his rant by saying that he is not going to die here, before proceeding to instantly die there. Out of all the deaths, that one fucked me up the most, because it happened out of quite literally fucking nowhere. And the director is fucking diabolical, because my man is getting shanked to death by Scissor Lady while his fucking self-help meditation audiobook is still playing through his earphones. Like, you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, does the music still play when you get into a car crash? Well, apparently your self-help meditation still plays while you're getting stabbed by a psychotic woman. And that is not the end of the killing, because quite literally as they get to their saving grace, their only way of escape, the bus, another woman comes out of literally nowhere and stabs Banksy right in the bullseye on his t-shirt with a beer bottle. It has that little cool effect with all the blood coming out. I kind of like that. But damn, they did my man dirty. But the boys finally get onto the bus, and this might be the moment where you think they're gonna have their conversation, you know, about what to do next. how the fuck are we gonna get out of here? How are we gonna burn this town to the ground? Whatever it may be. But no, Vince goes on a monologue talking about how he's having a midlife crisis. I think it's a bit more than a midlife crisis, mate. I think it's just a crisis. He burns the picture of his ex-wife, and it's a nice full circle moment. But after a little bit of monologue, the boys actually seem happy because this must be what Vince used to be like. And as he gets into the saddle, ready to take off and leave this silly little town of Moodley behind, they all share a nice wholesome laugh together. And Vince says that he's doing a little bit of off-roading. By off-roading, he means driving through people's back gardens until he hits the fat lady that quite literally explodes over the windshield. I don't think I got that part recorded because for some reason the movie kept glitching at that exact point. But after committing hundreds of felonies, they make it onto the road and start driving to freedom. The end. Psych! Graham is alive, he calls the boys, and they instantly turn back around to go get him. Legends. Those are the friends you need in your life, fellas. Turns out that after Graham was pancaked, he got brought down to the nest and pretty much dumped with the rest of the bodies from Moodley. And luckily, they so ever nicely placed him next to the army man who had the dolphin button on him. As he reaches the exit to this nest, he sees an electrical box with the same symbol as the button. And while this is happening, the boys pull back up and completely trash their only way of getting out of there. But the boys arm themselves with golf clubs and get ready to take on the horde of women, and it looks like it's about to be a fierce, epic battle. Until they all suddenly stop and they start letting out very, very uncomfortable screams and moans while their ears start to bleed. And just then and there, Graham emerges from the nest like an absolute hero. But of course, boys will be boys, and Neil decides to have some fun with the button. He's playing some sadistic game of red light, green light until one of the other boys asks can he get in on the action. Neil throws the remote to him and oh dear. Oh, that's not good. The women all reanimate and start chasing the boys down as they run away while all wheeling Graham in a trolley. Now that's the end. This was a very fucking long recording, even though this is not the most well-written movie ever made. The characters don't make all of the smart choices or anything like that. This is one hell of a fun time, bro. I remember so vividly watching this for the first time with my dad, and then I remember watching it with my friends after the fact because we were little kids. We were like, what? Between 8 to 12, somewhere in that range. We were still of the age where we believed girls had cooties, you know? So when we saw this movie, we felt seen. I don't think it was really done with serious hatred for women at all. It was just the early 2000s, man. People were just doing shit just to do it, and you could get away with a lot more than you could nowadays. Trust me, watch this with your friends. Even if you are a woman, you will get a laugh out of this movie. It is just funny, bro. Like, it's not gonna win any awards. It's not like the best written show. It's not the best filmed show. It doesn't have the best special effects or anything. But that does not mean that this is one fucking hell of a fun movie, man. Like, I can't stress it enough. It's fucking hilarious. The premise, like the whole fucking plot is... it just goes cattywampus after a bit, but it's so funny. Well, I had a lot of fun with this video. It was nice to go back and rewatch a classic from my childhood. So let me know down below what you thought of the video, any things that I can do to make it a bit better, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna go relax because I am in work again tomorrow. And that is a sad thought to have. So with that said, folks, if you enjoyed this, leave a like, make sure to subscribe and share with your friends. I have a good feeling about this year, folks. I really do. So with that all said, it's been EXO, and I'll talk to you all later. Have a good one, folks.